Hi guys, in this video I'm going to take you through some lower body stretches and some foam roller work to help keep you flexible and in good condition. Anybody looking to learn more about stretching can benefit from this, but this will be especially beneficial for footballers or soccer players. Just to give you guys a little bit of a background about myself, I've been playing adult football now for 20 years at a reasonable level, and there's many reasons why I think I've been playing for so long. One is I keep myself strong and conditioned, and another reason is I know my body, I know how to rest and recover. Sometimes when I feel a little niggle, I know what it is, so I know how to treat it. Hopefully today I can impart some of that knowledge onto you guys to help you with your rest and recovery. Okay, so we're just going to start off with one of the main ones that people know. It's the hamstring stretch. Footballers are notoriously tight in the hamstrings, or anyone that does running will be tight in the hamstring. So you can do this on your knees or you could do it stood up. So we've got three hamstrings: bicep femoris, semitendinosus, semimembranosus. You don't need to worry about the names, but with a hamstring stretch, we tip forward from the hips. The idea is to not round the spine. If we round the spine, then all we're doing is stretching the lower back and the sciatic nerve. But to actually stretch the belly of the muscle, try and think about tilting the pelvis back, so we're pushing the bum back as we tip forward from the hips and not through the spine. So push the bum back, lean forward. Doesn't matter if the leg's not totally straight, you can have a slight bend in the knee, and then we should feel that stretch in the belly of the muscle. If you want to get more of a stretch in the sciatic nerve, when you pull the toes up and tip forward more, you feel the stretch increase, but it's not actually increasing through the hamstrings. It's more the sciatic nerve which runs all the way up. But it's still a good thing to stretch. So you want to hold these stretches for at least 15 to 20 seconds. That would be regarded as a maintenance stretch. To improve flexibility, you're looking to stretch for 30 seconds or even more, and possibly a number of sets. You could also try some variations by twisting into the leg, which is going to target the bicep femoris, which is the bigger of the hamstring muscles. And likewise, you could twist away and then you'll feel more stretch on the inside. It's also going to bring in some adductors, some of the inner thigh. So obviously the same on the other leg, tipping forward from the hips, push the bum back, lift the chest up. So it's important not to force the stretch, just go to where your body feels comfortable. Obviously the more you stretch, the more you'll start to improve flexibility. You take a deep breath in. As you breathe out, try and increase the stretch a little bit further, but maintaining that position. And we can also use the foam roll to roll the hamstrings. So the hamstring roll, we come up onto the hands, one foot on the floor, and then you just literally roll backwards and forwards, covering the whole of the back of the leg. Try and avoid going behind the knee. We're just working from above the knee up to the base of the hip. To increase the load, the pressure, you can go one leg on top of the other, and then you get more weight going through the foam roller, so we get more work into that hamstrings, a deeper massage if you like. Then I'm going to move on to the hip flexors, which is a big area for footballers. It's the kicking muscles. So with this one knee down, 1 foot forward, we're trying to stretch all down the front of this leg. This time we tuck the pelvis underneath, so we do the opposite of the hamstring stretch. Hamstring stretch, push the bum back. This one, we tuck the pelvis underneath. So think about squeezing the glute of the leg you're stretching, and then we can also push the hips forward and lean back. And then to increase the stretch further, you can lean in towards that lead leg. So if I've got my right knee down, I take my right arm up and over to the left. And then the same on the other leg. So remember, push the hip forward, squeeze the glute of the leg you're stretching, lean back, and then in towards that lead leg. Also stretching lats and obliques, the muscles down that one side. Quad stretch is another one you guys will be familiar with. We can do this down on the knee, or you could do it stood up. So if you're on the knee, we pull the heel up behind, and again try to squeeze the glute of the leg you're stretching, so we're tucking the pelvis underneath to get more stretch through the hip. You can combine those two stretches, so if you go 1 foot forward and then coming up behind, you might need to hold on to something to get into that position, but this is a stretch all through the quads, all through the hip flexors. So you've got your basic quad stretch, one knee down, or you can increase that stretch, hold on to something. So if we've got more mobility and flexibility at that hip, that allows for a bigger range of motion, which can allow for more power. To roll the quads and the hip flexors, we go down, forearms on the floor, and then we just literally roll forward and back again, working the muscle, trying to stay away from the joints. So we can go all the way from the top of the knee, just above, all the way to just below the hip. Next up, we're going to stretch the glutes. A couple of different ways of doing this. First up, sit yourself down, one leg over, across on the outside, and twist away. Glutes, very important muscles. They work hard to stabilize the standing leg, so when you're kicking the ball, 1 foot planted, glutes are working to stabilize that position. Also, very important for sprinting and running in general. Next up, we're going to stretch a muscle called the piriformis, which can get very tight and it can lead to sciatica. So if you have pain running down the leg all the way down, then it could be a tight piriformis. It's worth stretching anyway, because if it's not, then the worst you do is just loosen up the muscle. So with the piriformis stretch, lie down on your back, cross one leg over the other, and then we reach the hand through the gap and bring the leg towards. Ideally, we would push this knee away, so it might help to have your foot against the wall to stop you pushing this leg away at the same time. It's also a good area to roll. We can use the roller, and with this one, lots of different ways of doing it. We're just trying to get into the muscle, into the various muscles around the hip. You can change your angle so you're more side on, or you can even cross the leg as we did in the stretch. If you feel particularly tight areas, you might want to just hold on that spot for longer. Again, think about the weight going through the roller. If you lift the legs up, or the other leg up, then you get more pressure down in that area. Stretching the calves, let's be aware of the two major muscles that make up the calf. We have the gastrocnemius, which attaches above the knee. So to stretch that one, we need to keep the knee straight. The other major muscle is the soleus, which attaches below the knee. So to effectively stretch that area, we need to bend the knee. You can do it just stood up, lean forward, keep the back leg straight, keep the heel down. That's going to stretch the gastrocnemius, which goes above the knee, as I said, so you should feel the stretch all the way along the calf, maybe more towards the top of the calf. To stretch the soleus, we do it with the knee bent. So with this one, keep the heel down, just bring a slight bend into the knee, and then we should feel the stretch lower down in the calf towards the Achilles. So again, it's just being aware of what works best for you. You may be tight more in one muscle compared to the other. Spend more time on that tighter area. to roll the calves, quite simple. This is often a tight area in runners and footballers. You're just working from the Achilles tendon all the way up to just below the knee again, so not working behind the knee. And if you really want some pain, cross that other leg over the top and go there. This is personally one of my favourite stretches to do, as I do get quite tight in this area. It's known as the tensor fascia lata, or the TFL, which is basically the muscle where your pocket would be. So the muscle is responsible for this movement. So we get a lot of this in football, a lot of this in running. So to stretch it, we need to try to lengthen out those 2 points as best as possible. So we take the stretching leg, foot behind the other leg, and then we lean in towards that back leg. Arm up over the top, so again we're getting the stretch down the lats and the obliques on this side. To increase the stretch, we try to separate the feet. So if I walk this way, then I get an even bigger stretch. So you lean one way, push the hip the other way. And then same again. So when you do any stretching, it's good just to make small adjustments to see if those adjustments get the area you need to stretch more. So for example, we can go straight over. I can twist this way more. I feel that there. Or likewise, I can twist the other way more. So that's the case with a lot of the stretches. Just make small adjustments to see if you can hit that area you need to hit more effectively. An area you'll see lots of people focus on when they roll is the IT band, which runs from the hip all the way down to the knee. If you get knee problems, there is a chance that it's caused by the IT band being tight. It's a little bit controversial whether you should roll this area or not. Some people say by rolling it, it doesn't actually help anything, it just causes yourself pain. Others swear by rolling it. For me personally, I like to focus more on the TFL, which is the muscle where your pocket would be. So that is the muscle that leads into the tendon, which is the IT band. So the TFL is the muscle, the IT band is the tendon that attaches it to the knee. Tendons attach muscle to bone. So I'm going to roll the TFL, and it's just small movements. Find the area. It's slightly to the side and to the front, and all you do, like before, is just make small movements, but because it's quite a small area we're working with, small muscle, we just need to make small movements. Again, you can increase the pressure, and this is actually a good one to use a ball, a golf ball, a tennis ball, to get deeper into that area. The adductor stretch, stretching the inside of the thigh. If you come up against the wall, so we can keep the body in an upright position, soles of the feet together, and then just gently push the legs down towards the floor. This is an ideal position to do some PNF stretching. So what we do with this, stretch for 5 seconds, and then we resist the stretch. So I'm going to push up against my hands, which will contract the muscle that we're stretching. Just a light resistance, 5 seconds, breathe out and relax, and you should be able to increase the stretch further. Same again, resistance up against the hands, 5 seconds, breathe in, breathe out and relax, and just try and increase the stretch a little bit further. So we can use that principle for any muscle we're trying to stretch. Stretch the muscle first, then contract the muscle with resistance, and then stretch further. And repeat 3 or 4 times. There's As well as stretching for maintenance and aftercare, we can use things such as foam rollers, golf balls, tennis balls to help loosen up any tight areas. Muscles can develop knots, which is basically toxic waste and tight muscle fibers. So using this stuff can help to loosen that off. We use the balls more for what we call a trigger point technique, which is where we find the area which is most tight, apply pressure to it, continue to breathe. Eventually that pressure releases and then we can move the ball to another area and do the same. The thing to remember when you roll is wherever there's muscle, technically you can roll that area. So for anyone, a good area to pay attention to is the muscles around the hip. This is especially true with footballers. If you have knee pain, there is a chance the problem is up around the hip and it may just be tight muscle. It's always good to eliminate this possibility, so rolling around that area and being aware of any tight areas that you do have in that area can only be a good thing. I wouldn't advise rolling a muscle that has just become injured. Muscles need time to recover. They are initially in what we call the acute injury stage, which is basically where we rest, ice and elevate. A few days after injury, provided you've rested and recovered well enough, then it's safe to go into the area with a roller, a ball, massage or heat. At this stage, we try to get blood into the area to help recovery further. To be on the safe side, leave it a week after the injury. Thanks for watching. I hope that was useful. If you have any questions, please leave down in the comments below. Please check out the rest of my channel and like and subscribe. I'll see you very soon on the next video.